Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is a bunch of kinds of gear reviews, and you are watching The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. It's time to join the conversation.
Hello, boys! I'm back!
Oh, hey, guess what? I forgot to unmute my mic. Duh. Can you hear me now? Jeez. It wouldn't be the right of the people, folks, without technical diddlies. So, yeah. Hopefully you can hear me now. So let me know, if you would, in the chat. And I thank you for the heads up telling me there's no audio. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear. There's on the delay.
Okay, good. Good. Because I forgot to unmute my mic. Because I had it muted earlier, so I was recording something, and yeah. Anyhow, absolutely right. We're back. This is The Right of the People. Even though I've been gone for a while, I am back, and I am here to stay. I want to thank everybody for coming in. G23 says 5x5 rookie. Yeah, I know, right? Take 8 months off and you forget how to do every damn thing. Got Squibload in the house, as well as Warsaw Patriot, M. Gabriel, G23 Ghost Tactical, Defense Dad. Defense Dad's like, Jesus, I thought my TV was fucked up. Yeah, right. Oops, there's one. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep things FCC friendly, even though I'm not bound by their constraints, but you know. So as always, folks, for those who don't remember, say whatever you want out there in the chat. I don't care. Disagree all you want. Just do so politely. Don't be a jerk. Don't attack each other. Don't be an asshole. You know, disagreement's fine. Discourtesy isn't. So keep in mind, mods, if you remember my the way I like it, then you know, handle stuff accordingly. But don't just hand out bans and whatnot for minor stuff or single instances. So we got a lot to talk about today. But first, before we get started, I do want to welcome my illustrious and esteemed panel. We have the irascible yet lovable Squibload with us. How you doing, Squib? Long time no see.
Yeah, but you know, some things just don't change. It definitely wouldn't be the right of the people without some technical diddlies and an F-bomb. So.
Yeah, right. We got those out of the way immediately, so we should be good to go.
Oh no, there'll be more.
I'm sure of it. Both, probably. And then we have the wonderful Warsaw Patriot out here. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. And yourself, sir?
I am just Ducky. Just wonderful. I'm actually, you know, I missed doing this. I'm very glad that I decided it was time to stage a return. I got Cookie in the house out there. That is a name I don't recognize. Welcome. Welcome back if you're someone who was here before under a different name, and welcome if you're new. Did we have someone else pop in?
Yeah, somebody jumped in from the left coast.
But is that
a tactical pickle?
I smell brine. Is that a pickle?
That it is. That it is.
Pickle, how you doing, bro?
Been doing pretty well. How about you, fellas?
Well, I've been doing pretty okay. I've been doing a lot of work. That's pretty much where I've been for the last 8 months. I have been working 6 and 7 days a week between my day job and my side hustle. Got paid them bills, right? But you know what? It's time. I need to come back. I started to get some time, and I went back to another hobby I used to have, and decided that was pretty awesome. So I've been doing that, and then now I came back to this. So we'll see if I can keep 3 or 4 balls in the air juggling. Who knows?
Oh, that's where you got to work, make that money. There's people on welfare counting on you.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Grim, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Calveris, I want to congratulate you, man, on your state, man. Hey, keep pushing that case forward, man. We got to win that.
Which one? We've got we've gotten like 2 or 3 wins in the last couple months.
The assault weapons ban and the magazine ban.
That's right. I believe the ammo background check one is on the same judge's desk, so that's where we've got reason to hope.
Yeah, it's going to continue to be a process, though, because it's going to be the same as it was all the other times. Benitez will say, hey, this stuff is stupid. We're not going to have it. The state will appeal. The appeals court will say, hey, we agree with Benitez. The state will appeal. The en banc will say, no, we think that stuff's great.
Close. That's where the Ninth Circuit violated its own rules of conduct and skipped over the 3-judge panel and went straight to the en banc on the magazine ban.
Nice. So I know that 1 or 2 of those cases got remanded to the Ninth Circuit by the SCOTUS to be decided based on the Bruin decision. So we'll see how this pans out. Maybe we'll get lucky and the AWB case will finally make it to SCOTUS at some point and get ruled nationwide. That would be great, but we'll see.
Well, that's where all 3 of those cases had gone all the way through the Ninth and had been presented to SCOTUS. And after Bruin, they remanded all 3 back to the Ninth, who then vacated the rulings and kicked it back down to Benitez again. So that's where they've all gone through the full process once. So yeah, it's just going to take time to do it again.
All right, Mr. Bad, come on. It is not petting time. Yes. My cat, he wants petted right now. So he's going to be mad at me. And Gabriel says, allow me to say, but I digress first. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be digressing a lot. Because, let me make sure all my stuff is up and ready to go. So we got stuff to talk about. The first thing, mostly what I want to talk about tonight, we're going to first go over budget, just an FYI, but your audio is way lower than your panelist's audio. Well, let me turn my gain up just a skosh. How about that now? And then turn my level up just a little bit on my mixer and see how that goes. So let me know, how does that change it, Defense Dad? And thank you for the heads up. And hi, Vanessa Kitty. How are ya? Glad to see you back. Hopefully that solved the issue there by turning my gain and my level up. So we're going to talk about this atrocity that happened in Lewiston, Maine, which, by the way, let's skip forward a little bit. They found the guy dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Maybe it'll be a self-inflicted gunshot wound like a Clinton informant's self-inflicted gunshot wound. I don't know. Maybe he will have offed himself just like Epstein offed himself. I don't know.
No, I don't think it's that at all. I think he's just a pussy.
And that's probably how it is. Ghost says, my audio is still way lower than everyone else's. I don't know how.
You got louder on this end.
Let me open my audio mixer. No, I don't know. I'm not going to mess with it because what I'll end up doing is, let me turn this up a little bit. Because what I'll end up doing is junking the whole thing. Doesn't sound like my mic is on. I wonder what microphone I have this thing using. Let's
Yeah, I'm listening to you on the delay, and I'd say you're more echo, like you sound like you're further away. Maybe that's why.
Let's
After a few months off, you'll come back and we go right back into the technical difficulties.
Hey, you know, it's been a while. Let me go to device settings and microphone, default microphone. Well, that would be why, because it's not the right doggone mic. Aha.
Maybe now it will be. Hopefully it'll be, because I had that set wrong. Hopefully this changes things. That'll be par for the course here, right? Because I bet it was going through this mic right here as opposed to this mic right here. So we'll see. Let me know how the audio sounds. I apologize, folks. Normally it's not quite this bad at Charlie Foxtrot. He's back. Yeah, right. Normally it's not quite this bad at Charlie Foxtrot, but as I said, I've been been gone for a while, and this is my first broadcast back, so there's gonna be some wrinkles what need ironing out.
Yeah, the audio sounds better.
Does it? Good. Do you hear me tapping on that mic?
It sounds like you're eating it.
Oh, wow. That's not good. I don't want to eat my mic. I'll get it right. I promise I will.
You're good. Just go.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the topics here. So this is just the general article off of CNN. During manhunt for suspect in Maine shooting that killed 18, authorities twice converged Thursday on his last known residence. Basically talking about the suspect accused of killing 18 people at a bowling alley and restaurant in Maine. Again, this is an older article. It was from yesterday, and we know the speed that this stuff moved at. But arrest warrant was issued for Card, the absolute piece of garbage in human form that went in and used an AR-15 rifle to kill a bunch of people at a bowling alley and at a bar/restaurant. He was a firearms instructor, which really doesn't have any bearing on anything, as well as an Army reservist, which kind of does have a little bearing because apparently this fellow had been threatening to shoot up his reserve base. So yeah, he spent a couple weeks in a mental ward and over this past year, and somehow did not get activated by Maine's yellow flag laws. So I don't understand how he was able to possess these firearms if they had laws in place that would have prevented that. But then again, I don't see how he was able to kill people because murder's against the law, and I don't see how he was able to go into the bowling alley and shoot a bunch of people because, you know, there was a sign on the door that said couldn't bring guns in there, and so on and so forth.
Okay, that's for just a one quick question. Maybe you've seen something I haven't. That's where I saw one blurb headline claiming that the rifle that he was using may have been stolen.
It may have been. It may have been.
So, we don't know yet.
Let's see. This is a piece from Breitbart. Says police took suspected Maine shooter for evaluation in July. Yellow flag law not triggered. Police took Robert Card, the person of interest police are seeking in connection with Wednesday's shootings in Maine, for an evaluation in July 2023 after he acted erratically, according to reports. Card, an Army reservist, had caught the attention of military officials after acting erratically in mid-July while taking part in training at West Point, the Associated Press reported. Police in New York were called, and Card was taken to West Point's Keller Army Community Hospital for evaluation. Breitbart News reported that Card recently reported mental health issues, including hearing voices, according to the Sun Journal. CNN reported that Card recently made threats to carry out a shooting at a National Guard facility in Saco, Maine. The question raised, considering the involvement by police, is why Maine's yellow flag law did not come into play. Breitbart News noted that Maine has a yellow flag law that allows police to petition for temporary confiscation of a person's firearms. Maine Public Radio explained that the state's yellow flag law had been used 22 times to take away guns during the timeframe of 2020 through June of 2022. NPR suggested the yellow flag law could be a model for gun control. Well, only if you use it, right? So, much like with the Parkland killer, this piece of filth slipped through the cracks due to someone's negligence, I would assume.
There's been more than just that. They've either had some sort of recorded mental health issue where they were institutionalized, or they had interaction with law enforcement multiple times, or somebody knew something, or I'm not encouraging some of the crap that some of the people are calling for, take the guns away from everybody who's mentally ill. If you see something, say something. But it just almost every single, these all have the same sort of criteria.
Yeah. There seems to be a template.
They all had warning signs.
Ghost says that he was not an instructor. CNN redacted that statement. Good. Because I know they were trying to make some kind of hay out of that.
He was a prohibited person last time I checked.
He was what?
A prohibited person.
Well, yeah, he should have been off of Maine's laws with the mental illness stuff, but
that's if he goes to an FFL. They're going to go after private purchases next. They're going to go, see, we got to have this universal garbage.
Oh, yeah, they'll be pushing that for sure. Fortunately, his rampage is at an end because this piece in Breitbart says Maine shooting suspect found dead of self-inflicted gunshot wound. Robert Card, the shooting suspect in Wednesday's attacks that left 18 dead in Lewiston, Maine, was found dead of a reported self-inflicted gunshot Friday night. This is from today. During a Friday night press conference, officials in Maine revealed the body of Robert Card was discovered in a recycling yard in Lisbon, Maine. His body was still in the same clothing that he was pictured wearing in the photographs police released Wednesday night. Governor Janet Mills, Democrat, spoke at the press conference saying the Maine State Police located the body of Robert Card. He is dead. I'm breathing a sigh of relief knowing that Card is no longer a threat to anyone. Details on Card's death are scant, but WCVB indicated that Androscoggin County Sheriff's Office announced the suspect in Wednesday night's shooting has been located and is deceased. A manhunt for Card has been underway since late Wednesday night. It involved various police departments from Maine, departments from other states, the FBI, and other federal agencies. Breitbart News noted that Card used a .308 sniper rifle that was legally purchased. There are questions on how he purchased the rifle legally, as he was taken to a West Point hospital for evaluation in mid-July 2023. Two questions specifically. Did Card's mental evaluation at a West Point hospital in mid-July 2023 not reach the level of an involuntary commitment? Or did someone drop the ball in reporting an involuntary commitment to the NICS check to prevent passage of a background check? So, unless this AR that he's pictured here with is a different gun, or it was in 308.
Yeah, AR-10 maybe. But these guys don't know the difference between one or the other, so they're going to call it whatever it would say sniper rifle. Everything's a freaking sniper rifle.
Yeah. Who wrote this piece for Breitbart? A.W.R. Hawkins. He knows the difference.
Yeah, well, I don't know why he'd use that terminology, because an AR-10 is definitely not a sniper rifle.
No, it isn't.
Somebody's out there's going to yell DMR. No.
I was about to say it could be a designated marksmanship rifle.
I think he got
dad says he was convicted in New York, where the base and hospital are. Seems like they didn't forward that info to his home state of Maine.
Yeah, but I bet they got reciprocity on gun laws.
M. Gabriel says, I thought he bought it before he was committed. He may have. We just don't know.
Or it could have been stolen.
The thing is, though, we don't have a lot of information in 48 hours. And when this happens, we usually have gotten a lot more information than this in the first 24. They drug their feet on finding him, and they've drug their feet on releasing any information about a motive or anything else. I mean, this has been kind of slow. I'm not saying that there's some sort of conspiracy or some garbage like that, but it's just kind of weird how that's something that isn't the same in this. You know, if we're looking at a template,
it's kind of the same as the was it Nashville shooter that left this wacko nut job that left a manifesto that they absolutely will not release.
Yep, exactly.
yeah, but we knew about the manifesto right away.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like a
Well, I
we
mean,
got
like
it, but we're not going to show you.
So, like they said that he left his son a suicide note, assuming that's even true, because some of the crap the news has been saying is just been inaccurate. But okay, if they don't want to release the suicide note, or they don't release it for weeks or months, or that's something. But at least saying he left a suicide note, we found it here. It was addressed to his son, something like that. That's more relevant than we don't know nothing about nothing. What I want to know is who at one of these locations did he hate? Did he work there and they fired him? Did his ex-wife work there? Did somebody? And I also, irresponsible speculation, you heard it here on the Right of the People first. I think the first target was a diversionary. He shot that up so all the cops would go there, and he went to his primary target. So the bar was the second place.
That could be.
I think he was targeting somebody at the bar. The bowling alley was just to get him on the other side of town.
That could be, because if I were to ever do something like that, which I never would, I would absolutely stage a diversion somewhere else that would get law enforcement as far away from wherever I intended to go as possible. Not that I would ever do something like that, because I wouldn't.
But if you look at the map that they put up there on the news feed, okay, maybe that's close because it's a small town, but it's far away in some ways. I mean, you're going down a lot of side streets to get from one place to the next. So
yeah.
Why haven't they said what associated him with either or both of these places? That's another thing that they haven't. It's like, you're telling me at this point you have no connection. I call BS.
Well, the only thing I've heard that both locations have in common is they were allegedly, supposedly, so-called gun-free zones that you weren't allowed to, they were posted, no firearms, so that the majority of the victims inside lacked the ability to defend themselves. I know that they were soft targets.
This is something Defense Dad and I were talking about earlier this evening. I didn't know what the laws were in Maine, and if they had the sign law and you had to obey it and all this other stuff. I do not know. But if the people in there were obeying the law, and the law says if there's a sign posted, you can't bring a gun in here, even if they had a concealed carry permit or something else like that, if they said, nope, we're going to be good citizens, and he knew they were soft targets, then he's got all of the advantages, because Maine is a pro 2A state. So my comment to Defense Dad was, why didn't somebody pull their weapon and, return fire? It's kind of like El Paso. I can't believe all those rednecks in Texas nobody in Walmart had a gun, legally or illegally. Nobody had you got to, this is freaking Texas, okay? Well, Maine is supposed to be like a pro 2A state, so I just don't get it. I can understand if it's in a school or something like that, or maybe a church, or depending on what the state laws are. In this case, a bar. We were talking about like Michigan and or Michigan and Nebraska are similar. Whereas if the establishment makes 51% or more of its revenue from alcohol sales, then there's limitations on open or concealed carry in that location. So depending on what Maine's laws are, and if he knew those laws, he might have used that to his advantage. They always go after soft targets.
Yeah. There was at least one resident in Lewiston in one of the articles I read that, while they were searching through the woods and whatnot for this guy in the neighborhoods, that he was wishing he had a firearm. He didn't have one. There were others that were like, yeah, we got all our guns out and we're waiting. So I just wish that somebody in that bowling alley had a pistol on him and had popped this dude in a grape before he got more than a couple shots off. Defense Dad says they're saying now that both locations he'd been to and thought people there were taunting or talking bad about him. That added to mental illness makes no bueno. Well, there you go. He had personal grudges against people in both places. He thought someone there was making fun of him, and so I'll show you.
Yeah, see, that goes back to the whole thing about him being a pussy. If somebody's there picking on you or teasing you or taunting you or whatever, you don't shoot them. You don't kill them. You beat their ass.
Yep, punch him right in the jab. I was going to say something even worse, but punch him right in the face. That's we'll leave it at that. At least that's how I was raised up anyway. But you guys can figure out, I imagine, well, I'm sure the people watching this, being who you are, you already know what the antis are saying about all this. This is a piece from Breitbart. Shannon Watts criticizes lack of gun control in Maine before suspect apprehended, facts known. This is from October 25th. Moms Demand Action founder Shannon Watts reacted to Wednesday's shootings in Maine by criticizing the lack of gun control in the state, and she did so prior to a shooting suspect being apprehended or facts being known. Watts tweeted, "Maine does not require background checks on all gun sales." See, Squib, you're absolutely right, going after the private sales. Have a red flag law. No, but they do have a yellow flag law. Prevent domestic abusers from accessing guns. Ban assault weapons, limit magazine capacity, require concealed carry permits, restrict open carry, have a waiting period. This year, Republicans in Maine rejected a bill that Moms Demand Attention fought for that would have required a 72-hour waiting period. That's it. 72 effing hours was too much to ask the GOP to buy a gun. It's harder to buy Sudafed than an AR-15 in Maine. Bullshit. You don't have to wait 3 days to buy Sudafed anywhere. You got to show an ID. You don't have to fill out paperwork. You don't have to call in a background check. You don't have to, get a permit or anything like that. You just go to the store, you show that you're of age, and you walk out. She did not mention that California has all the gun controls she accused Maine of lacking, yet California led the nation in active shooter incidents in 2021. Moreover, Watts criticized Maine's gun controls before facts about the shootings were known or a suspect or suspects were apprehended. This means she offered her criticism at a time when no one even knew how the attacker got his guns. Wow. Color me friggin' surprised. Any of you guys shocked by this?
Shocked and appalled. No way anyone would be so stupid as to make claims like that, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, because, nobody. Well, unless you read this piece in Ammo Land, Biden and Newsom exploit Maine tragedy to push pet anti-gun agenda. This is from Today by Alan Gottlieb. President Joe Biden and California Governor Gavin Newsom have predictably reacted like vultures in the aftermath of the terrible mass shooting incident in Maine to push gun control schemes which would not have prevented the outrage, the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms stated. Governor Newsom is demanding adoption of a waiting period in Maine, said CCRKBA Chairman Alan Gottlieb, who is also the founder and executive director of the Second Amendment Foundation. And President Biden wants universal background checks and safe storage laws, and both of them know none of these proposals would have prevented what happened Wednesday evening. They've pounced like craven political opportunists in hopes of using this tragedy to stir up public emotions in an effort to push gun restrictions they've been promoting for years. Biden has wanted to ban semi-automatic rifles for years, Gottlieb continued, when he knows rifles of any kind are involved in a fraction of murders, and he also knows there are millions of law-abiding owners of such firearms who have harmed nobody. Why should honest citizens be penalized for the rampage of one clearly disturbed individual with documented mental health issues? The president also wants to repeal the federal law protecting gun manufacturers from junk lawsuits, he added, which has absolutely nothing to do with this case, and he knows it.
Joe Biden is throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, which is what anti-gunners do every time there is a tragedy upon which they might capitalize. It is a disgusting process we have seen time and time again. Meanwhile, he noted, media reports show many local residents immediately armed themselves, such as Lewiston Councilman Robert McCarthy, who told a CNN reporter, "We locked the doors, we grabbed the guns." Other reports revealed local residents who did not have firearms said they wished they had guns. Biden's gun control schemes would keep those people disarmed. This is deplorable political posturing, Gottlieb stated. Biden, Newsom, and other gun prohibitionists are dragging out the same tired agenda which they have always proposed. They have simply repackaged it with the events in Lewiston, Maine, which is a disgusting exploitation of a horrible crime. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. Well, Mr. Gottlieb, I hate to tell you, sir, they don't know what shame is. At all. And unfortunately, neither do politicians in my state here in Ohio. Because one Ohio lawmaker is using this as an opportunity to push their agenda. This is from Cleveland19.com. Ohio lawmakers, experts talk red flag laws in the wake of Maine shooting. As the manhunt for the mass shooter in Maine continues, this is from October 26th, yesterday. Some are turning to legislation, pushing for change to try to prevent the next tragedy. It's not a tragedy, folks. An earthquake is a tragedy. A tornado is a tragedy. A drought is a tragedy. This is an atrocity. Looking to tools like red flag laws. So some states have what are often referred to as red flag laws or extreme risk protection orders, which enable a judge to temporarily take away the guns of individuals who have demonstrated in some way to be threats to themselves or others, said Associate Professor of American Politics at Case Western, Matt Lacombe. Early reports says the suspect in Maine was at a mental institution for 2 weeks over the summer. Lacombe said Maine does not have red flag laws to alert law enforcement to the person or temporarily remove his guns before an incident, also noting that Ohio has no such law either. We do have this tool that 20 other states in Washington, D.C. have to temporarily take away firearms from people who may cause harm to themselves or other, said State Representative Michelle Grimm. Family members can petition courts to keep their loved ones safe and keep others safe. Grimm says she pushed for the legislation earlier this year and emphasized that if a firearm is removed, it would be a temporary measure, not a permanent ban for the person. Lacombe says the law includes a judicial process, but admits that there are no stats that show a direct correlation to this law lowering mass shootings. Lacombe is a freaking liar because every red flag law I've seen proposed here in this state has been without benefit of due process. There are 20, due process later. There are 21 states and the District of Columbia with red flag laws. American Gun Association notes there is no certain data saying these laws can actually prevent shootings, and critics argue it imposes on a person's Second Amendment rights. No single law is capable of taking care of a problem as big as the gun violence problem in this country, said Lacombe. And again, as I've said many times to those of you who've been around this dumpster fire for a while, there ain't no such thing as gun violence. It's just violence, folks. He continues by saying the conversation around gun laws is detrimental, and he believes people falling on one extreme or the other is not helping find a solution, but thinks legislation that red flag laws could be a middle ground that helps. No, there's nothing middle ground about taking someone's Second Amendment rights based on hearsay and no evidence without due process. That's not a middle ground. That's on the extreme, son. Sorry to tell you. Well, no. Truth be told, I'm not sorry at all. It's kind of what I do is tell people like that they're frickin' idiots. You guys have you guys heard of any other politicians calling for this garbage?
Kamala Harris out in Australia, and she's promoting the idea of having Australian gun laws in America.
Blech.
Yeah.
So our bitch of a governor, when she sent out the notice to lower flags, she of course said she was doing it because the president, the guy that everybody says is the president, is doing it. And she of course threw gun violence, which as you're saying, it is a made up term in the whole proclamation and all that. You know, we need to stop this senseless blah blah blah. It's like, look, lady, if you want to have the state of Michigan side with the state of Maine and respect the loss of these people, that's one thing, but don't turn it into your political soapbox. I mean, that's just, the bodies are still warm, and she's standing on them, talking about this nonsense. So who knows what they'll try to pass here because of that.
Yep. And Mike, how much do you want to bet that there's somebody always getting killed in the cities of Chicago, Detroit, Michigan, Philadelphia, and others when this stuff's been going on and the news is not reporting it?
Well, let's take a look. Let me pull this up.
I mean, MSN said what? There has been 365 mass shootings this year. And it's like, well, if you count gang violence, sure. But if you count what the mainstream media reports, no.
Let's see. According to HeyJackass.com, in Chicago, this week from 10/22 to 10/28, 9 shot and killed, 36 shot and wounded, total shot 45, total homicides 10. October to date, 39 killed, 239 shot and killed, 203 shot and wounded, total shot 242 with 42 total homicides.
Dang.
That's just in October. So
that's 1 month in one city.
So far this year.
All right, and now here's a question. What about New York City with those riots and all that stuff going on over there?
Now that I don't know, but I can tell you that so far this year in Chicago, it's 478 shot and killed, 2,135 shot and wounded, total shot 2,613 with a total homicide count of 532 so far. And we still got another couple months to go.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a bunch of garbage going on that's just everyday stuff. So, it's not sensational, so we can't lead with it. We can't use it to further our political agenda because, if we start looking at these killings in Chicago that happen every day, that have, these numbers every week, 40 people killed this week versus the 18 in Maine. It's just the 18 was all at once. It was wholesale, not retail. So we're not going to worry about that because if we start pointing the finger at all the deaths in Chicago, then maybe we have to start looking at who's been in charge of Chicago for decades, which would be Democrats, which would be liberal social policies that have destroyed that city and made it a cesspit of poverty and gang violence. But, we can't talk about that. We got to talk about these right-wing, Army reservist people with AR-15s or AR-10s or whatever the case may be, who want to, kill us all. So we have to take guns from you guys who didn't do anything. Which brings me to my next point. That's the American politician's solution. The American politician's solution when an atrocity like this happens is to take. They want to take from the law-abiding citizen. They want to take from the potential victims and, in fact, expand the pool of potential victims for criminals who, by very definition of the word, don't obey laws. They want to take. We all know what happened on October, I believe it was 7th, in Israel, where the Hamas terrorist scum basically invaded the country, did a massive raid on the country, and slaughtered innocent Israelis, civilians, men, women, and children in their homes, at music festivals, on the roads, in the streets, everywhere they could find them. Now, Israel's weapons laws are different from the United States, for sure. Their rate of firearms ownership is roughly 7%, whereas ours, is a hell of a lot higher. Their rate of concealed carry permits is around 2%, but they allow active and reserve members of their military to go to their local armory and check out their weapons and carry them around when they're in civilian dress. So they do allow that, but the Israelis had an interesting response to this. Instead of, the bad guys, the terrorists came in and created a bunch of slaughter and mass destruction, so like American politicians would have done, American politicians' solution would have been to take from the law-abiding, take from the potential victims. Not the Israelis. The Israeli solution, according to this piece in CNN from August 21st, 2018, that can't be right. That can't be right. Because I know that they have, maybe I got just an old article there, but I know that Israel's solution was to start making the process to obtain a concealed carry permit easier, and that the rate of that is starting to skyrocket as Israelis take advantage of that. Also, their response is to start handing out assault rifles. This is from, what is this from? This is a piece from guns.com. It doesn't say the date, but it's been in this past week. Considering a brutal onslaught from terrorist groups, the country's national security minister announced an effort this week to up-arm Israelis caught in the crosshairs. Itamar Ben-Gvir, I apologize if I have butchered that name. I'm sure I did. Oh, this is from 10/12/23. A Knesset member who serves as the country's Minister of National Security said on Tuesday that 10,000 rifles will be purchased from an Israeli company to arm volunteer civilian security teams or civil alert squads. Some 4,000 rifles have already been acquired, and the guns will begin to be issued immediately under a project overseen by Shimon Lavi, a retired police chief. A press release for the ministry also said it had purchased related equipment, including helmets and protective vests, to be distributed to those signing for the rifles and will be sent to hundreds of towns. Such local teams, reports the Times of Israel, were essentially unarmed at the start of the invasion from Hamas terrorists, or were forced to fight off heavily equipped terror cells with only a few personally owned handguns, which are hard to acquire under Israeli law. While no details were released as to the model or manufacturer of the 10,000 rifles, the country is home to Israel Weapon Industries, or IWI, which makes the Caramel, Galil, Tavor, and Uzi series platforms. In related news, the outlet reports that many Israelis are seeking to relax the country's strict gun control laws. Among other restrictions on public firearms ownership, Israel has a rigid licensing scheme with draconian limits such as a fixed 50 round per firearm ammunition cap. Further, those with rarely granted permits must complete refresher training every 6 months to keep their permits or guns. According to the government figures reported by Haaretz, as of last summer, just 141,646 Israelis owned a total of 150,015 private firearms. This, in a country of more than 9 million, points to under 2% of the general population as gun owners. Gvir, whose ministry is tasked with overseeing the Israeli police, border guards, and public firearms licensing, announced earlier this week he is moving forward with emergency measures that will allow 4,000 citizens to obtain immediate permits to purchase firearms, enable those with permits to buy 100 rounds of ammunition at a time, and exempt some 1,800 permit holders who have deposited their guns with the government while they waited for renewal training to get their firearms back. The move echoes efforts by Ukraine lawmakers to implement a local version of the U.S. Second Amendment last year as Russian troops invaded. The right to keep and bear arms is natural and universal. The Israeli people have every right to own and carry firearms to defend themselves, and we applaud the Israeli government for retracting its tyranny and encourage it to continue, said James Jones, projects director and Sentinel editor at Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, in an email sent to guns.com. Israel once encouraged citizens to own and carry. Gradual infringement cut this natural right to self-defense and arms ownership. Danger is what you get when a government denies civil rights. So, it's an interesting contrast On the one hand, in America, the politician's solution is to try to tighten up restrictions on firearms ownership whenever an atrocity happens. In Israel, it's the opposite. It's let's try to make firearms ownership more accessible. Yes, it's not a great leap forward, but it is a step, what they're doing. So, you know, I have to applaud them for that, and I'm sure that every single one of the Israelis who were murdered by Hamas, who were taken hostage by Hamas, who were raped, beheaded, burned, and otherwise tortured and killed by Hamas, would wish they had access to a firearm. What do you guys think? Do you think it's a good step in the right direction? Is it an interesting juxtaposition and comparison?
I learned about Israeli gun laws years ago. There was a Gun Channels member, Amit. He's Israeli. He would explain what it's like over there. And he's the one that told us, you know, you can only have 50 rounds of ammo in your house, period. You can have one gun. That's it. There's a way to get a second gun, but it's very difficult. And then all the other stuff about having to renew and take the test. And, you know, it's not like there's a bunch of gun stores and gun ranges and all that. And I'm going, but you guys are surrounded by all these people that want to kill you. You think, you know, everybody would be armed. And he's like, nope, it's really strict over here. And it just didn't make any sense. These measures that they're taking, they're about on the same level as what our politicians do as far as too little, too late and that sort of thing. But I just don't understand why they wouldn't allow their citizens to carry pretty much anything, anywhere, anytime. I'm not saying that every day.
Especially now.
It's not every day that there is something going on, but over the course of my lifetime, there's been so much of it over there. I just don't understand why these people wouldn't be armed and trained constantly.
Well, we were talking about it in the pre-show chat that this has been happening since day one in Israel, since 1948, since the creation of the state. It's been at war, functionally. You know, sometimes actual declared wars with armies, but even when, you know, armies aren't invading Israel and getting their asses handed to them, we have terrorists attacking them and lobbing rockets and lobbing mortars and blowing shit up and killing people all the time. I agree. It kind of boggles my mind that, especially since every Israeli is required to perform 2 years of national service, that they don't encourage and maybe even require their people to be armed. It's just crazy. I can't fathom it. I hope that what we're starting to see happen there becomes the general trend, and you know, their government starts allowing those people to be armed, to be able to defend themselves, especially if they're anywhere near the border. Because, you know, you see these videos shot by these Hamas garbage, filth, disgusting, pig fucking bastards, pardon me. You see the videos shot by these assholes of them going into these kibbutzes and these communities and going door to door, dragging people out and killing them and whatnot. Although I did see a video that it made me cheer. This Hamas asshole with a GoPro wearing it goes diddy bopping across this intersection and gets smoked by an Israeli, falls down and dies right there. I thought it was great. I laughed because I have no sympathy for terrorists, period, whatsoever. But you see them doing all this stuff and thinking it's great. And how could you not let your people be armed to defend themselves? Because I've heard stories of, you know, one person who actually did have a firearm, and he was stacking 7 or 8 of them up on his front yard, you know, just dropping them like flies as they were trying to come in. Imagine if everybody had that. This wouldn't be a thing. The these assholes on the paragliders that would have been like, pull, gone. But no, they're unarmed. They were soft targets. And they paid the price that soft targets pay.
Budget.
Yeah.
Correction. Those terrorist shitbags, they're not pig fuckers, they're goat fuckers. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah. I know that would be their preference, but you know, I wanted to insult them.
Just
even
say
more. Goat fucker would be a badge of honor to them. Pig fucker, well, you know, they don't like pigs, so.
Mike, you know what drives me nuts just thinking about this?
What's that?
We were looking at Israel and they got attacked by Hamas. Let's say that happened to us. You could give them all the evidence and all the facts laid down on the table, and they don't want to hear it. So if that happened to us, they're probably not going to, you know, live the exact example what Israel's doing right now. That's into the teeth.
If that happened with us, I suspect it wouldn't be happening for very long. At least not in this neck of the woods.
But I'm talking as far as the Democrats is concerned. They don't want to fucking listen.
No. I you know, it was Yamamoto, I believe, who said, you know, rifle behind every blade of grass. That's what it would end up being here, I think. Damn sure in this neck of the woods. That attack would last about 10 minutes.
But
and
like I said,
that would be it.
Yeah, but like I said, as far as the Democrats are concerned, or just these far left crazies that think, all right, the Starman Pop is going to solve everything. If that came here to the States, they probably wouldn't think twice before thinking about taking people's freedoms.
Oh no, they would use that as an excuse to try to confiscate firearms and restrict ownership and call for this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, they would do it. They've shown time and time again that that's exactly what they would do.
All right, and the old saying, all right, those who give up freedom and deserve neither. Without freedom, there's no freedom.
Correct. It's just, you know, the attitude that allows people to decide that they want to end gun ownership in the face of these types of attacks, particularly by scumbag terrorists, is just downright stupid. Speaking of downright stupid, let's try that again. Let's try that again.
And now prepare yourself for another tale of stupidity in this episode of Moron of the Week.
Well, folks, I know you guys like to vote on this, but I've only got one. And this is the Anti-Defamation League. This is a piece from Zero Hedge. The Anti-Defamation League now blaming white supremacists for eruption of anti-Semitism. Because the current thing narratives are nothing if not predictable, I speculated on Twitter/X last week how and when the governing authorities would try to blame white people for the burgeoning civilizational conflict between Israelis and Middle Eastern Muslims unfolding on American and European streets. And showing a tweet from Armageddon Pro says, still waiting for the corporate media to figure out how to blame MAGA domestic terrorists for the Middle East crisis. Rest assured, the ADL is hard at work on that project. And lo and behold, here we go. 1 week after Hamas's brutal terror attacks in Israel, white supremacists continue to rail against Israel and the Jewish community, gathering in cities nationwide to promote their racist anti-Semitic propaganda, reads the Anti-Defamation League tweet from October 18th. The Democrat Party front group then goes on to show a grand total of 3 images with 5 probable feds in masks holding cartoonish anti-Semitic signs purportedly from California, Seattle, and Alabama. Of course, the inconvenient reality for the ADL is that the vast majority of protests against Israel's siege on Gaza are conducted by non-white Muslims. However, social justice dogma dictates that brown people of diverse faith cannot ever be perpetrators of any sort of hate crime. Accordingly, the blame must fall on the white man, the proverbial whipping boy for millennia-old religious conflicts between Semites. So, they're saying that white supremacists are apparently Middle Eastern Muslims who are protesting and demonstrating, chanting things like "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." What they're meaning is from the Jordan River to the Med, and that's all of Israel. They want to absolutely destroy the state of Israel. That's, white guys doing that because white men bad. So the Anti-Defamation League is deciding that they're going to defame everybody but the people who are actually doing what they're trying to say everybody else is doing. Because, it's not politically correct to point out that the emperor has no clothes, apparently. So the Anti-Defamation League, you are the morons of the week.
And there we had another tale of stupidity in this week's episode of Moron of the Week.
All right, folks. So those of you who've been here before know what's coming up. We have talked about our topics. We've talked about the moron. So there's only one thing left, folks, and that is Roll Call 219's favorite segment, Self-Defense Shoutouts.
Yay!
Self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the proposition that the bad guy won the room temperature challenge by taking a dirt nap. It's instead where I'm reveling in the prospect that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to keep the bad guy from making him take that nap, or her. First up is this piece from, from Fox 32 Chicago from October 22nd. Woman fatally shoots knife-wielding man in Morgan Park. A woman fatally shot a knife-wielding man early Sunday in Morgan Park on the far south side. Shooting happened around 12:45 a.m. when a 41-year-old man who the woman knew approached her with a knife inside her home in the 11,500 block of South Vincennes Avenue, Chicago police said. The woman then pulled out a gun and shot the man 4 times in his torso. He was taken to Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn, where he was pronounced dead. The woman wasn't injured, and a handgun was recovered at the scene. Good. That's how it's supposed to work, folks. For those of you who don't know, for the, anti-gun idiots who say that guns don't save lives, well, guns don't save lives, just like guns don't kill people. But people with guns, however, do save lives, just like people with guns take them. This next up is from wakeforestnc.gov. Wake Forest police investigating shooting along Abercrombie Road from October 23rd. According to police, Contestable, the update, the gunshot victim in today's shooting has been identified as Stephen Dallas Contestable, 1205 Pinewood Lane, Raleigh. According to police, Contestable, age 34, was attempting to break into the home along Abercrombie Road when he was confronted by one of the homeowners, who is a legal gun owner. The homeowner gave repeated verbal warnings before shooting Contestable, who they should be, I keep wanting to call contemptible, who had broken several panes of glass on the door while attempting to gain entry. Based on the results of the preliminary investigation, no charges have been filed against the homeowner. Update, the gunshot victim, he's not a victim, died as a result of his injuries. This remains an active investigation. No further details are available. And last, but absolutely not least, this piece from 6abc.com. Would-be robber shot, killed inside Philly convenience store. Appears to be self-defense. This is from yesterday. Philadelphia police say a store employee fatally shot a man who was robbing the store in Kingsessing Wednesday night. The employee of Happy Day Market on South 58th Street by Whitby is in his 20s and is cooperating with police, according to officials. Investigators say the entire incident was also captured on surveillance camera. Preliminary information, it appears to be self-defense, according to Philadelphia Police Chief Inspector Scott Small. The 911 calls about a robbery started coming in shortly after 10:30 p.m. Police say a 28-year-old man wearing gloves entered the store, his face partially covered with a mask. Police say he had a handgun and pointed it at an employee, then went behind the counter and started taking money from the cash register. Police say the employee pulled out his weapon and fired several shots, hitting the suspect several times. The suspect collapsed behind the counter and was pronounced dead on the scene. You can clearly see there's money on the scene, and you can clearly see one of the 28-year-old's pockets is stuffed with money. We believe that was the money he was taking from the cash register during the robbery when he was shot, Small said. Police recovered the store employee's gun and a weapon they say was used in the robbery. 2 other employees and a customer were taken to police headquarters to be interviewed. So there you have it, folks. 3 instances where, despite what the anti-gunners would tell you, the good guy with a gun stopped the bad guy with a gun. That being said, folks, there is an announcement I have to make. As some of you who've been here for a while know, and some of you may have already picked up on this watching the intro to the show if you were here at the beginning. The name of this channel was not always MK Outdoor Journal. If you've watched some of my back catalog, you'll see that some of my, well, all of my earlier videos are under the name Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. A couple years ago, I decided to rebrand and changed it to MK Outdoor Journal. Every once in a while, you'll still hear people call me Budget. I'm sure someone here in the chat tonight has called me Budget. Well, you're going to be able to do it again because starting tomorrow, Budget Guns and Gear Reviews is back. I'm going to go ahead and change it back to where my roots were, where my beginning was. And yeah, I will henceforth be Budget Guns and Gear Reviews again. I should have never changed it, but I had my reasons to think it was a good idea, and it wasn't. So I'm going to listen to what everyone's saying and go back to Budget. The MK Outdoor Journal will still be a thing, though. That's what the website will still be. It'll still be mkoutdoorjournal.com. And I will, cross-link and whatnot my videos over on the website and stuff. But the website will be for, like, written articles and blog posts and things like that. So, yeah. It's going to be Budget Guns and Gear Reviews again. So, go ahead and call me Budget. I identify as Budget now. Yeah, and Gabriel says, I hope the transition goes okay. Yeah.
You walked right into that one, dude.
I see where you're going there. Okay? Yes, I am retransitioning. So I'm going to reverse my transition from MK Outdoor Journal back to Budget. So, yeah. Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. That's what I'll be. So, before I close things out, I want to, yes, the man formerly known as Budget will be back to being Budget. I want to go to my esteemed panel here and see if you guys have anything that you'd like to say. Squib, is there anything you'd like to leave us with?
Nah.
I kind of figured that would be the case. It usually is. How about you, Warsaw?
I'll leave with a nice quote. History is doomed and damned to repeat itself if people don't learn from history.
Yep. That's absolutely right. One more thing. Starting next week on Sunday, Sundays are going to be the time for the Right of the People, and it's going to be Sunday at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So block that out and set it aside to come join us. Of course, if you don't want to come join us here live, that's fine. You can always catch it on the replay here on YouTube, but you can also catch it in podcast format wherever you listen to your podcasts. So go ahead and check that out. And it's on the podcast sites. It's the Right of the People. So remember, folks, in these dark and dangerous times that we have where anti-gunners got an anti-gun, they always keep trying to take what's ours by divine right. We can't let them do it. We have to contact our Congress critters and elected representatives and let them know what we think. Send them a snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, carrier pigeon, semaphore, bicycle, messenger, smoke signals, anything that you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. I'll talk to you guys on the next one, and thanks for coming and watching this.